Alright, guys, so I'm back for another message, okay? So I've been freaking dying to get this message out for a couple of days, and I tried doing it earlier, but it just wasn't the right time. So, today is Easter, everybody kind of knows that. But what I really wanted to cover was the importance of why is so much happening going on walking out the tomb. Okay, many people, I feel like they really go through that process and they don't people give the significance, but I think the significance is not really laid out correctly from what I have heard and seen. Now, when it comes to having this experience, it is otherworldly. A lot of people think that the story is how do I even put it? It's simply the realization of the Holy Spirit manifesting now. It's for everybody to have. Now, that's the knowledge of it. Okay, that's the knowledge. It's much deeper, that story. That story is telling many stories in the one story, okay? People, they don't know that. Okay? Many people, they are not aware that that story is a representation of more than just Jesus. Of more than just the Holy Spirit activated for everybody. They don't see how it's playing in their daily life. They see that that was Jesus' life and that was Jesus' mission. And yes, to an extent, that was Jesus' personal mission. That's what he was created to do in a sense. But he had many missions, of course. He was walking to people knowingly and unknowingly. He was following his instincts that was given to him. Even when many people were confused by it, okay? So that in that same regard, that story is the same type of confusion, the same type of knowledge that's come with it. Jesus knew more than the knowledge that was with it. Because Jesus knew, but the way that Jesus operated wasn't always out of knowledge. A lot of people know the story, but they don't see the wisdom within the story, okay? And I'm a little bothered, I'm not gonna lie, about why this story was never told in this fashion that I'm going to give to you today, okay? Because it's a way that is relatable to all of us, okay? So when Jesus was killed, okay, Jesus was in a position where he knew what was going to happen. He knew what everybody was gonna do. He probably didn't know how specifically certain events was gonna play out, but he knew the end game. He knew the end. Which I'm getting it justified the means by why he was moving that way. People was getting paid, okay, to do things to him. People was getting paid. Now let's not go too far. It's people that get paid to kill others. That's for real, okay. So it still plays out today. It's certain people, they have that knowledge within them, okay, and it's other people that know that they don't want that knowledge to be seen. They don't want to see that these individuals have this simply innate wisdom that's more than the knowledge. A lot of people, they say, I want to know so much. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. But they don't see that Jesus was more than knowing things. It was in the knowing. Jesus was pulling out the wisdom so that he can say without really speaking on it. Because what he is seeing and what he is knowing are two very different things. It's hard to explain because it is not something that can be spoken. That's why he spoke in many parables. That's why he speaks in a way that it is pushing people's boundaries of what they know, even though it sounds so plain. Okay, and that's important. It sounds plain. It sounds as if he's speaking in this plane, but it's another plane he pulling from, telling you the future. In that moment, he was telling people their future. He was telling people the keys to life, but they couldn't understand. That's why they had to get up and walk away. Some of them, they turned away with their head down. I don't understand. Why would he say something like that? But they never show to how those characters in the future, how they see those words then. Okay. Now let's get to the meat of it. So he gets murdered. Okay. Now he's set in the tomb. Remember that he got murdered and was put in a tomb where you cannot get out. Not by one man alone. Now that's so important that it was a tomb. The visualization of the tomb is so important. Because in there was no light. You see? It didn't have no windows in there. Do you see what I'm saying? It was no eyes there. The tomb was in total darkness. It was dead. It was no life. Okay? And of course, now I hope you're kind of pulling it a little bit together. It was no life there. He was dead. His body laid there. In a specific position, wrapped in a specific way. He was murdered. They took him there. They laid him there. Okay. Then, after a certain amount of time, it was 3 days, he rose from the dead and walked out. Those two actions are so important, that he rose from the dead. Nobody saw that he rose from the dead, that he got up. Nobody saw that. That is something that happened in the darkness. Okay. In the darkness, there is no light. Remember that. But he embodied the light. The light was born from within. In that sense, you can say he became a reborn. He was reborn. Okay. And that is so significant, being reborn and then walking out. Okay. It sounds basic, but what I'm going to explain to you. Okay. Walked out. Somebody came. They said the bandages was all gone. That the blood was on the bandages and whatnot, and he was no longer there. He walked out. People are questioning this person, saying that she went in, and they saying that she a liar. Remember that when the woman saw that she said he wasn't there, that he rose and got out, people didn't believe her, so they went and go check. It was empty, but by then he was already disappeared. Do you see that? He had already disappeared. People are behind. People are way behind. He already moved. He already going to the places he was chosen to go to at that time. People are way behind. Even when he died, people were still behind. And he knew that. And that storm is also important. The storm came because the Most High wanted a righteous ending for him. He wanted vengeance for getting the sun to be destroyed. Okay. But even the Most High knew that wasn't going to be the end, okay? So he goes, he meets the disciples in a certain location because the disciples is hearing that he awake again, that he actually out there preaching and saying things and moving around, okay? And they see that he got the holes upon his feet, the holes upon his palms, the holes upon his wrists, the stab. He has the wounds to show, the battle wounds to show that he really went through it, okay? That he came alive. And St. Thomas came because he could not believe it with his own eyes. It was not enough to see, even though St. Thomas had the vision to see. He could not believe what he was seeing. The belief and the faith was nothing but shrouded in doubt and mystery. It's no way, he says, that he's alive. You all are lying. Y'all are tripping. Y'all must be taking something, St. Thomas said. That's why y'all gonna go to hell. Okay? And they said, no, we not, because he's right here and he's telling us. We can go show you right now. So St. Thomas went and goes and he touched the Christ, and Christ said, what you need to touch me for? I'm right here in front of you. Can't you see? St. Thomas says, yes, but it's still hard for me to believe that I'm seeing the truth here because I saw Jew get murdered. So Jesus said, go ahead. And he touched the flesh of Christ. You see, the flesh he touched. He did not touch the spirit of Christ. He touched the flesh. And he believed the flesh more than he believed the spirit. And Jesus corrected him in that moment. And that's how Thomas got the name the Doubting Thomas. Okay, that was his title, the Doubter. The person that was so close to Christ, he doubted Christ. How can that be? He was so close. He saw the miracles, but he doubted. And because of that doubt, he lost faith. He was in a state of like being disembodied, essentially. So when he finally stuck his hand through the damn holes in his feet and his hands, he realized, oh shit, this is for real. This is possible. Okay. Even the people that were supposed to be his followers doubted him. Okay. Then Jesus rose and flew in the air, and out the Holy Spirit came and Jesus disappeared. They wasn't expecting that, huh? Okay, so now that's the gist of the story, okay? But what I'm really trying to focus in on is the tomb. What that is representing is being reborn. That is what a real being reborn is. You in a tomb. You are in a dark place. There is no light. And the Christ will come before you in the darkness, just as he was in the darkness, providing you the light to see the room that is in that area. They don't say what he sees, okay? Which is a very curious thing. They don't say what he sees when he first awakes from the tomb. So neither are the followers in the future that have the same experience. They don't say, but they walk with the knowing. They walk with the knowledge. Okay, the knowledge is given to them at that point because they was in darkness. The light enveloped them. They no longer seeing with their eyes. They seeing through the Spirit of the Holy Spirit that has been granted to them. That's what it means to be reborn with the Holy Spirit. That's what you receive. You go through that process. That is a process that certain people are given. They're given that same type of awakening. They're telling you right there in that book, when you are an awakened individual with the Holy Spirit, that is what they're saying that you will go through. You will get murdered. Yes, that is true. You will get murdered in front of people. And people may not even be aware that you was murdered. Okay? Because it's darkness. They cannot see. Then when the Christ come to you, he's shining to you, okay? It's not a false light, it's the light. The light, not the false light. A lot of people, they say that, oh, maybe you met Lucifer in that vision, and that's why you're getting this confusion. No, there's no confusion. You go through the same steps, and that's what it is to be risen, okay? So that's why they say your old life died. Okay. Then you escape from the tomb. What this is representing is not a physical thing, of course. This is you waking up and leaving behind that which you thought life was. There's no turning back. Jesus did not turn back. He left the trappings there. Okay, he left the trappings there. He left those items there that was soaked in his blood. He left that there. Okay. Representing bloodlines. He walked away from his bloodline to find his true purpose. His true purpose. He walked away from the blood that was stained upon him, but is still a part of him. He walked away from that. People are missing that. He opened the tomb with his own strength. The strength given to him by the Spirit. Okay. Now, this is a representation. The strength of the Spirit is strong enough to move mountains, so he moved the boulder. It was nothing for him. It was nothing for the people that got the Spirit to move the object that is preventing them from walking out of the darkness. And when he walked out the darkness, nobody was witness to that. What they see is the aftermath. They see the opening. The portal was open. It was wide open. Though the portal was still shut. When he was dead, when he woke up, he opened the portal into the world that exists now. People missing that. Okay. That was a heavenly portal he created and walked through. Okay. The woman came and said that he is around. He is no longer in there. That the space has been restructured. He restructured that space and changed it and showed signs of life in the darkness where there was to be no life. You see, they missing that. You need to see that clear. He left signs of life where the dead was. Okay. Of course, this is the realization of the seeds that was planted when you awake with the Spirit of the Holy Spirit. Okay. Do you see the aftermath of your life that was before? And you can take and leave that which no longer is serving you, but brings the idea of the life that was left behind. It's treasures for somebody. Okay? So, he goes to the disciples. He goes to different areas and goes to the disciples. And he ascended. Remember that he ascended. That's a parable. What that is saying is he rose. See, he rising. He's always rising. He's always elevated. From the death, he started moving. Then he started flying. Then he became something that was in the air, that traveled in the air, but was not of the air, but was so similar to air. That's why the breath is so important. They don't say that. I don't see why I don't hear the pastors preaching this. They're not excited about it. You got to be excited. That's why it's funny when you laugh it, because you fill in the air with the energy of positivity, of laughing. It's hilarious. Okay? So he ascended into the heaven, became the Holy Spirit essentially. and flew on so he could communicate with everybody. That too is a parable. What you see happening there is he unlocked something in his body that not only allowed him to rise from the dead, people murdered him many ways. But he became invulnerable. Maybe not invulnerable, he became immortal, is what happened. He became immortal. That idea will now last throughout many centuries. But the thing is that it's not just him. That's what they kind of forgetting. This is a story told before him. It's an older story than that. Okay? This is not new. Jesus was not the first person that has done something similar to this. Although he is somebody that represent, okay? Because he was in that tomb for who knows how long alive, okay? Who knows? It just says 3 days he rose out and left. The entire time he could have been awake. We wouldn't even know, okay? But that's why his other name also, he's a part of the three, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, and the Most High God. But what you can say, he dwelled in that place, in that tomb. He dwelled in for 3 days. And in that dwelling, okay, was massive amounts of knowledge being fed to him, okay? And he walked out of the dwelling to give the messages to the people that could receive them. He gave the messages, but the ones that received them, they know which ones it is, because the Holy Spirit is traveling and letting them know. That's why his other name, people do not know that his other name is the Dweller, because he dwells in that plane. Okay? They don't know that. That's the other name that he goes by, written in the texts. That's why I believe that Jesus could have been simply the man. And the Christ was the spirit that was inside that man, that came again and comes again every so often. He will come through. That's why they say the chosen ones of the lineage, of the ancestral lineage, they come and they rise against the curses of the family, to break them, to break the chains of the curses, to break the beliefs and old ideas and old ideologies. It's nothing new. He simply gave way and left the story so that those who would have those same experiences could know that they was not alone. That's how much love Jesus had. Because he knew he was not going to be the only one to live a life like this. And Jesus was a very intellectual and wise man. Okay. But the spirit that dwelled inside of him gave him the courage, the wisdom, the path, the encouragement he needed to walk on that, to speak on the wisdom, to speak on, and that's what people doing today. They don't realize that they walking in that same similar story. And it's levels. That's why they say he arose, ascended, and disappeared, because he was on a different dimension. He went to a different dimension, connecting to everybody. And it's multiple people that can do something similar to this. Do not be confused that Jesus is the only person that can do this. There's many deities. There's many stories that align with some type of situation like this. Do not be confused, okay? Do not lose sight. Yes, there's many deities, there's many gods, but the ones that go through that story is the same. That's why it's a spirit and not a person. It's a renewing of these stories. It's mostly what it is. It's a renewal. And that's the story of being risen. It's more than that, okay? It's even depicted in the book of, what was it? The book of Thoth, okay? Where it specifically says that the third is the dweller. And when you meet the dweller, okay, you meet Jesus. At that point, you meet Jesus. When you meet the dweller departs upon you the wisdom as much as you can fit in you, okay? And you come out of that tomb with the strength to carry on the mission. That's the power of the Spirit, the Holy Spirit. You receive that. But it can be confusing when you have pastors telling you specifically of just the man. They're not telling you of the other individuals that have gone through something, or they don't even give you that option to say that there's other people that have a very, very, very similar story to this. Okay. And that's what I wanted to say.